Hello everybody, my name is Joey. I'm part of the Chart Guys team. Been a trader and full-time trader and analyst for 7 years, over 20,000 hours. Here to talk some crypto. We know we've got volatility incoming on Bitcoin because we've got a tightening range, and we know when tightening ranges break, that brings in some volatility. We've got alts, lots of alts starting to lose their daily supports, and that increases the odds that Bitcoin is going to do the same, which it's actually doing as we speak right now. So we'll look into the charts, see what we're checking out. Is the bull run over? Spoiler alert, no, it's not. Bulls have room for a 3-day higher low, but we'll break down what that would look like to form and what we're looking at from here. So let's go ahead and get on into the charts. So we're looking at the daily time frame here on Bitcoin at a tightening range, low, high, higher low, lower high. Bulls were trying to defend this 57.6K support, but it is giving up the bag right here, right now. And what that does is it gets our 3-day lower high set at 62,745. So if Bitcoin bulls are going to keep the show on the road, they need to form a 3-day higher low compared to the flush lows down here at 49K. And they have a ton of room to do so. So if they can do that, form the higher low, and then confirm an uptrend, then that would be a notable move for bulls. They'd be creeping back in on all-time highs. But we will just go one step at a time. And for now, we have a daily downtrend as the guide for this 3-day consolidation. So anything below 61.8K going to be a daily lower high. A little distracted, struggling to get my words here. Be a daily lower high next bounce. And let's zoom on in. So we've got a 4-hour downtrend. That's going to be the guide for the daily pullback. Anything below the morning high of 59.8K, going to be a 4-hour lower high. And if we're talking about a daily bounce getting underway, bull's going to need to regain a 4-hour uptrend. So just one step at a time. It was a great bounce off of those liquidation lows. And now we'll look to see what kind of follow through do bears get here. So remember last stream we were talking about what would be red flags for bulls. We'll go back to the 3-day for this. Red flag would be increasing bear volume and a greater than 50% retrace of this bounce. So let's pull our fib on it. That 50% retrace is at 55.4K. That's what bulls want to hold on this pullback. So increasing volume, greater than 50% retrace. And the other thing was alts starting to get smoked. So alts aren't getting smoked here, but they gave the clue that this was coming for Bitcoin. I've reorganized the watch list, which if you go to chartguys.com, go to resources, crypto corner, in there's a spot where you can download this watch list, and I keep it updated and organize things based on what they got going on. So we've got our lost daily support crew, and there's a whole slew of them that have lost daily support. They've been getting knocked off one by one here this morning. Bitcoin's now following, and we've still got a good number holding daily support, still in either a tightening range or kind of doing its own thing, like AAVE, which is standing out just as a solo bull doing its own thing right now. So as we know, when some alts start to do something, it increases the odds that others are going to follow. So looking out to see what's this watch list look like tomorrow. Have half of these names joined up with these names, my money would be on yes. So that's what we're looking at for Bitcoin in the intermediate term here. Bigger picture, as it's been the case for a while, as long as we're holding monthly 12 EMA, that's a potential monthly bull flag. But bulls need to regain a 3-day uptrend if we're going to take a step towards this actually holding. So moving on to Ethereum, we know it's much weaker. Bigger picture, it's lost that monthly 12 EMA a bit more convincingly. And we have bears potentially trying to follow suit and get a 3-day lower high set here. That rising wedge scenario that we were talking about last stream, which was, I think, Tuesday, we were talking about the potential that if we get a bull reaction, initial bull reaction to CPI, that this could be a wedge that we need to watch. We got the initial pop up and then pull back. And anytime you're getting higher highs without follow through, that tells you to look for either a wedge or a flag. In this context, it's a wedge. Came down, bulls tried to hold support, and then lost it. Bears defending the backtest of the wedge support, and now we've got a 4-hour downtrend here. So nice to be able to kind of have a little bit of an imagination to see what scenarios could we find ourselves in. And that's a big part of trading. Nobody knows what's going to happen. If I knew that this was going to happen, I'd 100x all in short at the resistance line. Nobody knows, but it's helpful to paint some scenarios for what could happen so that when things start to happen, we're not bamboozled and we're kind of like, oh, this is scenario B playing out. And, have yourself an A, B, C, however many reasonable scenarios they are. So we got that playing out. That is daily consolidation underway after a daily bull flag confirmed without follow through, daily 12 EMA continuing to act as resistance. And anytime you get a trend change without follow through, that tells you to look out for a lower high on a larger time frame, which in this case would be the 3-day. If that's going to happen, bears need to take out 2509. That would get our 3-day lower high set, and then bulls would have room to form a higher low, at least try. Not as much room as Bitcoin, but there's still a good deal of space, even from current prices. Support is almost 17% away. So same red flags for Bitcoin will apply to pretty much every name. Greater than 50% retrace, increasing bear volume, or peers starting to get smoked. Every peer that starts to see those red flags increases the odds that others will continue to see it. So looking at ETH BTC, still holding on pretty well here. We know bigger picture, it is not holding on very well. Monthly 12 EMA resistance, haven't had a weekly uptrend in ages. Bulls hopeful for a weekly bounce in ETH BTC need to see a daily uptrend confirmed from here. So good deal of space to form a higher low on the daily, and our guide for that, let's see, we'll just kind of give this an honorary 4-hour downtrend. We'll just call it that. If you want to zoom out to the 12-hour, call it a 12-hour downtrend. Doesn't really matter. All we know is that daily consolidation is underway, and key resistance here is going to be 46.13. So LTC holding on well here today, kind of doing its own thing. Daily uptrend, daily stair step. That is a weekly bounce, seeing some follow through. Anything below 76.76 going to be a weekly lower high. And at this point, it's a bear break of our quarterly tightening range without follow through. So if bulls want to recover that, they want to see a little more bounce here and then set up an inverse head and shoulders, something like that. That'd be the ideal scenario for bulls. But at this point, they do have a lot of room for a weekly higher low. So we'll just be watching 4-hour 12 EMA support as our guide for the daily move in conjunction with the daily stair step. And once that's broken, we'll look for a daily higher low compared to 58.50. So LTC, BTC, I haven't looked at this in a minute. Okay, so LTC is doing well, but it's had periods where it's done well before and then it smacks into the weekly 12 EMA. So that's what we're coming up to now. How long will the LTC relative strength last? If history is going to continue to repeat itself, not all that long. So we have, what do we have for our guide? I guess we'll just use the 4-hour uptrend. We don't really have an EMA rider to be working with. So we'll say if LTC BTC loses 1096, it'll be the first sign of another weekly 12 EMA rejection. And that opens up the door for aggressive bears, while right now LTC is a relative bull. If we reject from weekly 12 EMA on LTC BTC, then LTC USD is going to be essentially a laggard short. So aggressive bears can be looking out for that. What else we got? Sol has confirmed a daily downtrend. 3-day lower high is set. And now bulls need to form a 3-day higher low compared to 110 and ultimately regain that 3-day uptrend to have us a bit more confident that the monthly 12 EMA is holding. Again, Sol bulls, bigger picture, hoping that this is a monthly cup and handle. If the crypto space remains strong, then there are decent odds of that being the case unless we see Sol BTC really come unglued and see a lot of relative weakness come on into Sol. So we'll just hyper flash through these daily charts just so you can kind of see what we're looking at in terms of general structure for these names that are losing daily support. It's all pretty much the same, of big moves up and then either tightening daily range with the bear break or big move up and then kind of come down and confirm it on Sol. But Ondo, Jup, Dot. So Dot is actually a little different. It never got the daily bounce underway on Monday with everybody else. But you can see here, very, very similar structure on all of these coins. And some, like WLD, getting back to those lows. Every name that breaks the liquidation flush lows increases the odds that others are going to follow. So SEI just now losing it. We won't go through the whole list, but to see what the ones holding support look like, got Pendle, daily tightening range, FET, daily tightening range, which FET, one of our weaker bouncers, bigger picture, but still holding support for now. XRP still holding support, kind of doing its own thing. Link still holding support. You get the picture. So just as all of these names that lose daily support, increasing the odds that others are going to follow, if we start to see some of the stronger alts defend daily support, get nice 4-hour bounces underway, then that's when we'll look through and say, okay, what ratio charts support this name doing the same? So it's always like follow the leader in a battle of bulls and bears, not in the obvious sense of how every chart is, but battle of bullish names and bearish names, or strong names and weak names is probably a better way to put it in the crypto space. So it's all about looking around for clues. So we've got also all of our meme coins have the same daily downtrend picture, and all these things. Looking for daily higher lows. More space you have, greater the odds are that that's going to form, and that is that. What else do we got here? I think that's it. We'll pop through and hop into chat, see what y'all are looking at. Let's see, Boris, hello, thank you. I appreciate that. Appreciate the support. Short Bus, howdy, Sync, Laka Flaka. Thank you for the thumbs up call out. Yeah, if you haven't hit the like button and you like it, hit the like button. If you don't like it, never do something that you don't like to do if you're not being forced to do it. Rachel, hello. Alex Tron, waiting for AVAX to touch 14.15 in a few days. Let's see what AVAX is doing. So AVAX is like a big quarterly equilibrium. Maybe 6 months is better. Yeah, I think I like the 6 month better. So high, low, lower high. Definitely going to be looking for a higher low compared to 861. Got a monthly stair step off of the top. Got a weekly downtrend, or technically not a downtrend, but we'll give it the honorary downtrend. Lots of room for a lower high compared to 33. And as far as touching 14.15, if the trend continues, you'll definitely get there. But what do we got for our RSI levels? Weekly RSI is still very far away. Daily doesn't really matter so much when you're in weekly downtrends. So we'll just keep an eye. Bears have full control on AVAX as long as daily 12 EMA is resistance. Kasu, what's up? David Infante wants to look at XRP. Let's check it out. So XRP, we know bigger picture is just kind of a mishmash sideways mess. So we don't really have a lot of larger time frame context, but what we can say, let's go to the 3-day with everybody else. I think the 3 day is fine. 3 days is fine on a lot of coins, and you'll see that when one of our like kind of more less traditional time frames is showing clarity on some names. Very often you'll see that on all names, just because you can see when we're clicking through the list how so many of these names have similar structure. So that's pretty common to see. So XRP still holding on, double 3-day inside bars, and it's got that daily tightening range. And this is kind of what I'm talking about, of when you see a name that is trying to hold this support. If we go into the 4-hour here, we can look at this wick up. Let's see, 15 minutes, probably the best way to visualize it closely. Let's compare that to Bitcoin and see if that's springing back up. So Bitcoin, much weaker. So this is an environment that is going to be tough to see immediate follow through on Bitcoin because we're oversold on the 15-minute and 5-minute on that break. But XRP is showing its hand a little bit. Where'd it go here? XRP is showing its hand with that V-shaped bounce. So that is a name that's trying to hold support. So Bull's going to be looking for a 15-minute higher low here, hoping that they can fend off 3-day consolidation with everybody else and try to break this to the upside and have us working back to these recent highs. But ultimately, until 54.52 or really the high up at 65.86, until either of those break, not a ton is going on. Still 20% away, so there's plenty of opportunity. But if we lose this 54.52, that's when the hunt will be on for a 3-day higher low. And same deal, want to hold the 50% retrace, don't want to see increasing bear volume, yada, yada, yada. So that's what we got going on with XRP. Ryan V, what up, dude? Karate Chop City, having more fun shorting crypto and trading stocks, right? Stocks and commodities lately. Yeah, man. There's a reason I don't have a bunch of my capital over in crypto right now, ripping coins all of the time. commodities and index futures have been doing me really well, and swing trading stocks. So I'm just going with the hot hand. You know, if we get a full-blown alt season, I'll empty out most of my other accounts and bring it all over to crypto. But you know, when things aren't really doing a whole ton, not going to do that. Not going to do that. What up, Doma Jack? Yeah, let's take a look at CAS. CAS, USDT. We'll do Bybit. So CAS coming off of all-time highs. Is this the one we were watching a rising wedge on? It kind of looks like it. Yeah, I believe so. Maybe not though. I thought it was cleaner. I mean, I guess you can draw it like that. Yeah, so we broke bull or bear out of this rising wedge, but it's still just monthly consolidation underway. And bulls have reclaimed more than half of the pull back here. So still don't have a weekly bounce underway convincingly. Got it by a skosh. But if we're going to say a monthly high or low shaping up, bulls are going to need to regain a weekly uptrend here. And get rid of these lines now. So let's zoom in. And this is just another daily tightening ranger and has a lot more space compared to the lows of Sunday or Monday relative to peers here. So even if other coins were to get another solid flush down, CAS has good odds of being able to hold this 15,438 given its relative strength here right now. So bulls would need to break this to the upside to more convincingly get a weekly bounce underway. Then anything below 2090 would be a weekly lower high. And if we were to lose this 15,438, it would be joining peers and seeing that 3-day consolidation shape on up. So that's pretty much that. Pretty straightforward. Definitely one of our stronger names. There's not a ton of names within close proximity to blue skies, and CAS is one of them. CAS is one of them. Nice, Ryan. The historical RSI indicator is just sweet. There's been a couple nice ones on NQ here recently. Had a good one a couple days ago on that, you know, and it's just 15-minute consolidation, but when you can have your odds shifted well for that, it is a treat. And then we had one here this morning, got enough pullback to be able to get risk-free on it, but then bulls just continued to grind on up. I think ES had a 5-minute one, pretty much the same as that NQ one, where, you know, enough consolidation to get risk-free on it, but bulls continued the grind up. And just while we're talking about it, mRNA is a great one on the daily, taking it end to end. So y'all maybe remember, or maybe it's just folks in chart guys, because I was entering this bearish position live on stream, but daily historic overbought, ended up topping us, and now daily historic oversold, ending up bottoming us. So just I love that indicator. It's a quality of life thing. It's not like it's giving some profound novel information. It just keeps you from having to, you know, be on regular RSI and scrunch it up and drop a line and scroll back and do all this, see where we've been hitting. Just saves you time. Saves you time. Quality of life. Oh, I don't know where that line went. Be gone. All right. AJ, why is BTC not correlated to stocks and DXY? You know, it's not a great look, and I'm actually glad that you brought that up, because it was something I was going to mention, that Bitcoin's not positioned well for a pullback, given that this is what the broad market is doing right now. We can anticipate that the broad market, decent odds of seeing a pullback sooner than later as things get pretty extended to the upside. 4-hour RSI above 80. We know that won't be surprising to see a pullback when it comes. And if that pullback weighs on Bitcoin as this pullback weighed on Bitcoin, then it's not positioned that great for it. So relative weakness compared to stocks. And this is a Bitcoin S&P 500 ratio chart, and you can see that relative weakness. So after the liquidation flushes, Bitcoin had a stronger initial bounce. And now with this ratio headed back down to the lows, not a great look. As far as the DXY correlation, I'm not a proponent of that really ever. I know it's like blasphemy in the chart guys, but in my observation, the DXY correlation, or inverse correlation rather, with Bitcoin works about 50% of the time. And for me, that's not an edge, so I don't put the bandwidth into trying to determine are we inversely correlated with the dollar or not. So I don't have much to say on that other than, not surprising to me personally. But I'm kind of a stinker with that. So you can listen to someone else on that topic if you'd like to. All right, let's check back in on the short time frames for Bitcoin and see what we've got going on. So still no 15-minute bounce underway, and just a little 5-minute EQ here. That would need to break bull to get a 15-minute bounce, and we'd look for a 15-minute lower high. So bulls wanting this to be a bear break without follow through. Step 1, got to regain a 15-minute uptrend. Step 2, hourly. And then if we get an hourly uptrend, then we can say, okay, that's a decent bear break without follow through. What bears want to see, knowing that this wasn't really ideal for follow through, given that we were extended on the break, they want to see like maybe a 15-minute or hourly bear flag and then flush down with some more follow through. Let's see, Mr. Kermit wants to look at Bitcoin Cash. Let's take a look. So Bitcoin Cash coming off the highs on the monthly, bears with room for a monthly lower high. We've got a weekly downtrend confirmed without follow through. That could be the first sign of a monthly bounce shaping up, but no concrete sign of that yet because we don't have a weekly bounce underway. So it's going to be pretty similar to LTC in the sense that bulls want to see some weekly bounce follow through and set up an inverse head and shoulders to try to get that monthly bounce going. And as far as our 3-day, similar look to everybody else, and we've got that daily tightening range. So if we lose 327.4, then that is 3-day lower high being set, and bulls would need to form a higher low compared to 272.7 and then come back up and break 372.2. That would be our weekly bounce getting underway. So same structure as all of, or most of these alts in the holding daily support category here. No problem, my dude. All right, I'm going to wrap it all on up. If you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button. Again, only if you like it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, consider checking it out. Got a lot of free info from a bunch of chart nerds, and we'll stay on top of this, see what we've got going into the weekend. Bulls looking for that 3-day higher low, looking for it on stronger names structurally like Sol. And we'll see what we get. Hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your day, wonderful weekend. We'll keep pumping out updates on Twitter. And obviously, if you're in the Chart Guys Slack community, you know there'll be updates there all throughout. Take care and see you guys next time.